Hello, everyone. So, today we will be talking about dissociative identity disorder. So, we will first talk about the introduction about what DID is, and then we'll move on to the content, which is talking about the responses from the interview, and then we will conclude and summarize.
Dissociative identity disorder is about survival. As more people begin to appreciate this concept, individuals with DID will start to feel less as though they have to hide in shame. The prevalence of dissociative identity disorder. Dissociative identity disorder is one of the rarest disorders that affects 1.5% of the global population. It was shown that 2% of the Malaysia population have been diagnosed with DID.
So, what is dissociative identity disorder? Previously known as a multiple personality disorder, DID is now known as a mental health condition that causes a person to have two or more identities that control their behavior at different times. The core identities, the person's usual personality, and the alters are the personality a person switches to. DID patients can have up to 100 different alters, varying from different ages, genders, and ethnicities, and they have their own way of interacting with the environment. Many DID patients are also able to be co-conscious. This means two or more alters have the ability to remain present in the body and are aware of the outside world. DID is believed to be caused by brutal physical or sexual abuse during childhood and can develop as a result of traumatic events. It is a coping mechanism that is developed to displace the inflicted trauma onto other aspects of themselves.
Stereotype or stigma about DID. People with DID are heavily stigmatized and fueled by the media like the 2016 movie Split. The stereotype surrounding people with DID is that they are dangerous and manipulative, which is far from the truth as alters only existed to protect the child from traumatic events and continue to do so in adulthood. We conducted an interview to gain a better understanding of how someone with DID learned about their illness and how they managed their life. We were also able to get information on the individual's perspective on mental health care provided in Malaysia.
So, the first question we asked was, what do you understand about your diagnosis?
At first, it was really like confusing because it's weird to like feel something that is not normally felt by other people. I had this dissociative identity disorder or like dissociation because it is my way of coping, or I can say it is my coping mechanism when I was struggling in my earlier life. So like I had to dissociate into different identities for me to cope and for me to continue living.
The dissociative aspect is thought to be a coping mechanism. You literally shut off or dissociate yourself from a situation or experience that's too violent, traumatic, or painful to assimilate with your conscious self.
Another question we had asked was what made you realize you needed to get help and were you hesitant?
I think I always knew I needed to get help because I didn't understand what's going on with myself, and there is no one who can explain to me why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. So it felt very hard and very lonely. I was actually hesitant because at the early age I tried also to get treatment at school and at some clinics, but the response was not good. They were like, this is nothing. Do you have, even someone asked me, do you have stomach ache? Because if you don't have the symptom of depression. So I was like, oh, I don't have depression because I don't have stomach ache. It's like, so I met a lot of people who did not give me the good response to what I was feeling. So I was really glad that finally at later age I get to get the treatment.
Seeking help for such a disorder may be challenging as research on DID is still quite limited and most patients themselves may not recognize the symptoms. As DID often co occurs with other mental illnesses such as depression, many medical practitioners only tend to the other disorder, leaving the symptoms of DID untreated. What was the process for each visit to the institution you're getting help from?
I'm still a student, so when I want to go to the hospital, I have to get a guarantee letter because that's the way I pay for each of my treatment, or else I have to pay on my own. So my university pay for each of my visit. So after that, I went to the hospital, and usually I have to go much earlier than the time of the appointment because if you get there right on time, you'll be much later than the other people, and then you have to wait for a long time to see the doctor. And then when you see the doctor, you get to say whatever you are feeling and update about your current situation. And they will also check whether the current medication is working for you, or do you need to change your medication. And then after that, you have to line up to get your medication. And then I think that's all for.
The general course of treatment when tackling DID first begins with some form of talk therapy, where therapists help patients find the root cause of their condition while helping them fully understand their disorder. This is usually followed by the prescribing of medication depending on the individual. Have you ever been discriminated against because of your mental illness?
First time I went to the hospital, I asked this one guy. I asked him, "Do you know the way to the psychiatric clinic?" And then he said, "Oh, you can't go there. Don't go there. That's the place for the crazy people." He said. And I was like, "Oh, now I am the crazy people that you are talking about." I think many discrimination against people with dissociation, because I think people always take it as something very interesting, because it's like something that you see in the movies, and some people use it to like gain popularity in the social media. But for people like me, I have dissociative identity disorder, and it's very painful for me to go through it. And I go to treatment to get over it, and it really hurts me when people take it as something interesting and something, something to be proud of.
Society and even medical practitioners associate people with DID as aggressive and dangerous. Many people with DID reported being outcasted by family and friends. A blog published by Shirley J. Davis mentioned being told by a complete stranger who had no previous knowledge of her diagnosis that he hoped that he had never run into someone like that, as he felt terrified of people with such a disorder.
In your opinion, does Malaysia provide proper mental health care?
In some institutions, it is good, but some government hospitals, I don't blame them completely, because they do have a lot of patients to deal with, but they don't really like pay really much attention, because the doctors are really struggling too, so they don't really get to give the best treatment for the patients. But I think that's the thing that they need to work on, because we can't keep like blaming patients or blaming doctors, because if we can provide more doctors and specialists, and we can provide much better treatments for the patients too.
In a 2018 study, it was reported that there was a significant deficit in psychologists and psychiatrists in Malaysia, with only 1.27 psychiatrists per 100,000 population. What improvements do you think can be made for Malaysia's mental health care?
I think it is better for us to like start early, because I think a lot of people have been struggling since they were at younger age, like teenagers. But most of the time, teenagers are often not validated. Like, you're just a kid, you don't understand these things. Like, how can you be 15 and depressed? What hardship has you gone through, right? So I think if they put more focus on this group of people, then we can save and give treatment to like more people earlier when they actually need it. Yeah.
In 2015, the National Health Morbidity Survey, NHMS, revealed that 12.1% of children had mental health problems. Dissociative identity disorder, or DID, still remains a complex and controversial psychiatric condition. Mental health professionals should approach the treatment of DID with sensitivity, recognizing the potential impact the trauma has on the individual's psyche. Understanding the basics of DID and its symptoms can help dispel myths and reduce stigma. Individuals with DID already enough face skepticism and misunderstanding from society. The least we can do is to provide a validating environment. Okay, thank you.